Think country music is all rhinestones, heartbreak, and harmony? Think again. Behind Nashville's stage lights intricate sagas of courtroom showdowns, sibling rivalries, and tragedies play out like operas in a honky-tonk cathedral. Tonight we follow 20 blood-tied acts whose love, jealousy, greed, and grit changed American music while testing the very seams of family loyalty. Each tale climbs from dusty porches to roaring arenas, then dives back into shadows where contracts lurk and tempers explode. Listen closely and you'll hear boots stomping, lawyers whispering, bottles smashing, and sometimes a single note of forgiveness hovering over the wreckage. By the end, you'll never hum these classics the same way again, because every chorus carries the echo of a brother's fist or a sister's tears, ringing truer than any steel guitar. Hank Williams Jr.'s rebel roar rattles stadium rafters, yet the struggle that finally proved his bloodline happened far from the stage's glare. Jet Williams, born 5 days after their father died in the backseat of a Cadillac, was hidden by guardians who feared scandal. She drifted through foster homes, clutching nothing but a locket and an untuned guitar, until court records revealed her birthright. The estate fight lasted 14 years, pitting half-siblings, publishers, and bootleggers against one another while tabloids kept score. In 1987, a Tennessee judge ruled Jet a legal heir, rerouting royalties from Your Cheatin' Heart and enraging collectors who had already bought exclusive rights. Hank Jr. sent a single-line telegram. "Sister, grab a mic." 2 decades later, they shared Montgomery's stage, voices uniting on family tradition, finally louder than any lawsuit. Loretta Lynn and Crystal Gayle grew from the same Butcher Hollow soil but bloomed in different seasons of country. Loretta swung lyrical hammers at patriarchy with songs about birth control, coal dust, and no good men. Crystal floated across airwaves on satin arrangements and headline hair, her crossover polish upsetting purists. Record executives fanned rumors of a rift, staging photo shoots that placed microphones like daggers between them. At home, the sisters traded canned tomatoes, recipe gossip, and eyebrow pencils, wondering why magazines invented feuds when real problems were electric bills. A mail clerk once mixed their royalty checks. Crystal endorsed Loretta's by mistake and still swears that 36 cents of interest is hers. In 2022, the pair reunited at the Opry, harmonizing on Coal Miner's Daughter as an arena crowd cried into plastic cups. Johnny Cash loomed over country like a black-clad oak, and beneath its shadow his brother Tommy tried to grow. They learned harmony beside a cotton field radio, but only Johnny's boom, chicka boom shook the planet. Tommy released respectful singles and hosted variety shows where ushers still demanded autographs addressed to Mr. Johnny. Good-natured, he joked that he couldn't get arrested until Johnny's pill-fueled busts made the line awkward. The brothers' bond endured. Johnny slipped Tommy spending money. Tommy tucked sobriety chips into Johnny's pockets. In 1999, they toured Europe together. Crowds came for the man in black and left praising the sibling who told jokes between gospel numbers. When Tommy died in 2024, Nashville finally looped his song "Six White Horses," giving the quieter Cash his midnight ride. Don and Phil Everly sang so seamlessly that DJs suspected trickery, yet behind hotel doors, the harmony cracked. A dispute over Kathy's clown royalties dragged them into court. Amphetamines and bourbon added fuel. During a 1973 show, Phil smashed his guitar, hissed "I quit," and left Don alone with an acoustic and a broken heart. For 10 years, they traded messages only through managers. When they finally rehearsed at London's Albert Hall, the first tentative G chord felt like an apology. Even reunited, they booked separate hotel floors, proving forgiveness can share a stage without sharing a minibar. Jim Ed, Maxine, and Bonnie Brown wore pastel perfection on television, yet off-camera, the seams showed. Maxine kept a shoebox ledger, comparing ticket counts to royalty sheets that never balanced. When she questioned it, an executive cooed, "Honey, math wrinkles a pretty face." Their silky hits masked wage gaps. Still, they stacked harmonies tighter than bunk beds back home. After Jim Ed's solo career took flight, Radio credited future singles to him alone. Decades later, Maxine's memoir reclaimed every note, now cited in college courses on hidden labor behind golden melodies. Dolly Parton's glittering persona seems incapable of casting shadows, yet her outspoken sister Stella proves even sunlight creates silhouette. Where Dolly answers politics with a joke and a donation, Stella wields statistics and plain talk, tweeting at billionaires by name. Journalists smell fireworks and poke, but the siblings shrug, recalling nights they slept 3 to a bed after chopping their own firewood. At Dollywood openings, Stella sometimes slips into the crowd unannounced, timing the applause to measure brand loyalty. Later, she teases Dolly about charging $18 for lemonade. Dolly fires back that the cup includes unlimited refills of hope. Family dinners end with hymns that turn argument into harmony, each sister taking whatever part the other leaves open. Because survival taught them music is louder than rhetoric. When Sonny and Bobby Osborne plugged a banjo into an electric amp, purists gasped like church ladies hearing drums in the choir. Yet Rocky Top thundered across college stadiums until even skeptics learned to stomp. Success, however, became a seesaw. Sonny's hands ached from decades of Scruggs rolls. Cortisone shots dulled both pain and joy, and in 2005 he retired. Bobby refused to fold the banner, recruiting hotshot 20-year-olds to replicate the stacked tenor. Sonny blogged critiques. Too slow on the turnaround, too fancy on the tag. Fans saw feud. The brothers saw accountability. Their final recording together, a gospel standard whispered over oxygen tanks, closes with both murmuring, "That'll do." Reba McEntire sells arenas with pyrotechnic crescendos. Her sister Susie prefers wooden pews and the echo of stained glass. Growing up, they yodeled into hairbrushes while mucking feed troughs, dreaming opposite dreams. When Reba's star rocketed, reporters painted Susie as resentful, overlooking her Gospel Music Association awards because they glittered less loudly. Tension peaked when a columnist dubbed Susie Reba's warm-up act to heaven. Years later, the sisters co-hosted a tornado relief telethon, riffing off each other like veteran comics and raising $3 million in one night. Backstage, they rediscovered the harmony their mother drilled. Reba leads Susie high. Critics still ask about jealousy. Susie replies with scripture, Reba with that famous head-toss laugh. Their story proves winning doesn't require identical trophies. Teddy and Doyle Wilburn looked like twin gentlemen on black and white television, yet their contract with Loretta Lynn might have been penned by Mephistopheles. It locked her for 7 albums, forbade outside advisors, and claimed a slice of every lyric she imagined. At first she was grateful. Then she got famous. Lawyers descended, and the brothers who'd chauffeured her to stations became gatekeepers blocking the studio door. The suit lasted longer than the Korean War and taught a generation to hire counsel before cousins. Loretta cracked the chains, but the episode stained the Wilburn legacy like sauce on a white suit. Forever. Ira and Charlie Louvin could glide through close harmony like sparrows, then brawl backstage like alley cats. Ira's demons drank double, fueling rants that ended with broken mandolins and apologies scribbled on motel envelopes. Charlie patched both instruments and reputations only to watch Ira vow sobriety, then die in a collision with a drunk driver in 1965. The irony felt scripted by the devil himself. Charlie opened every solo set with their gospel staple, "The Family Who Prays," his tremble carrying grief like a hidden chord. Visitors still leave guitar picks beside Ira's splintered mandolin as silent amends. June, Anita, and Helen Carter inherited Mother Maybell's autoharp and her fire. Yet history zoomed in on June after Johnny Cash proposed on stage. Studio archives reveal reels where Anita's leads push Maybell to improvise, while Helen anchors the low register like riverbed gravel. Promoters called them background angels. Professors now call them architects of modern phrasing. A 2024 documentary premiered in Bristol, unveiling Helen's unheard solo and drawing gasps. The sisters' grandchildren clutched battered lyric notebooks like national treasures, eyes shining brighter than the projector beam. David and Howard Bellamy strutted barefoot across Florida stages, mixing steel guitar twang with beach bar breeziness. Years later, they accused Blake Shelton of melody theft, filing suit from a pontoon boat while holding margaritas bigger than Grammys. The internet cackled, yet two songwriters were guarding their hook. Settlement details remain sealed, but Nashville writers now staple originality disclaimers to demos. Protect the groove, they say, or someone else will dance away with it forever. Tom Paul, Chuck, and Jim Glaser blended voices until critics swore they could hear blood harmonizing. Offstage philosophies clashed. Tom Paul courted anarchy, opening a studio where artists paid in beer. Chuck sought opry respect. Jim chased folk psychedelia. Dinner became a symposium on authenticity versus commerce until the trio fractured. Their last shared gig at a Nebraska fair ended with bows in 3 compass directions. Jim later mused, "We loved harmony so much we refused to sing it the same way." Bootlegs of that night remind listeners perfection is fragile. Don and Harold Reed fronted the Statler brothers, turning nostalgia into velvet. At meet and greets, they memorized fans' names like pastors, yet Harold's throat ached with fear. Cancer stalked the family. In 2002, the quartet retired abruptly. Cynics muttered about sales. Truth pointed to mortality. Harold recovered. Don wrote novels set in fictional Staunton. Every Christmas, they release a letter refusing reunion pleas. Elegance includes knowing when to close the curtain. Buck Sharon and Cheryl White grew up in a bluegrass bus powered by diesel dreams. When radio pivoted to drum loops, labels begged for snap tracks. They refused, doubling down on clawhammer banjo. Decades later, their Grammy-nominated comeback proved trends circle like a mule to the barn. Wearing thrift store denim tuxedos, they joked the fancy budget went to dobro strings. Dolly's Mountain Crystal tweet about their Jolene cover spiked downloads. Critics finally admitted timelessness can't be overproduced. Mel Tillis turned a stutter into stardom, charming crowds by joking about the pause that once silenced him. Daughter Linda inherited both the speech pattern and the comparison curse. Bar patrons heckled, "Sing your daddy," so she left honky-tonks for coffee houses where whispers carried. Mel wired studio rent while telling reporters she was finding her key. Linda now hosts retreats where speech differences become rhythm. Mel paid full price opening night, saying it was the first ticket he'd ever bought just to listen. Their televised duet proved pauses can be sacred rests. Lefty Frizzell's drawl bent vowels into silk, influencing legends, yet his life unraveled in barroom ashtrays. Brother David watched, vowing to avoid the flame. In 1981, David's duet with Shelley West rocketed up the charts. He keeps Lefty's cracked leather strap in a mini-fridge, believing cold preserves sweat and memory. Fans touch it through the plastic door, whispering promises to chase dreams without chasing oblivion. Bobby, Robbie, and Arlene Harden soared when tippy-toeing lit dance floors, but fame proved slippery. A manager vanished with a silver suitcase after a Texas gig. Lawsuits followed, radio moved on. A 2023 podcast hunted the case, interviewing bartenders, ex-bassists, and a talkative parrot. Good for clicks, not clues. Somewhere in rest stop graffiti, a faded scrawl reads, "Find the Harden case, daring pilgrims onward." Randy Travis reshaped vocals with cathedral deep resonance, yet 2012 delivered twin disasters. His DWI and stroke, plus brother Ricky Treywick's meth lab bust. Rehabilitation centers became reunion halls where the brothers relearned words together. In 2024, they performed 3 wooden crosses in a prison chapel. Randy sang in halting syllables, Ricky harmonized below, and inmates wept. They donated guitars afterward, carving initials to remind everyone grace can be shared, not stored. Pam Tillis spent the 90s dodging comparisons to her legendary father Mel, determined to prove talent runs forward as well as backward. Reviewers labeled her shows with paternal headlines, but she fused honky-tonk fiddle and poet-sharp lyrics, snagging a CMA trophy. In 1999, father and daughter recorded In a Country Song, laughing through cliches they'd survived. Pam mentors writers now, preaching split sheets and recounting Mel's lost napkin hit. Lesson delivered, royalty protected, the Tillis legacy clearly belongs to both generations. 20 families, 40-plus voices, and countless echoes. We've heard lawsuits that sound like minor chords, reconciliations that swell like gospel key changes, and cautionary tales plucked on strings older than asphalt. Country music sells itself as simple truth, yet behind every 3-minute hit lurks a novel of inheritance, addiction, devotion, and law. Melody and mayhem ride the same bus, share fried chicken, argue over window bunks, then step on stage to deliver perfection. Next time a chorus drifts from your speakers, lean closer. Under the fiddle, you might hear a sibling sigh or a courtroom gavel. Those hidden sounds won't chart, but they make the record matter. Harmony is expensive, kinship complicated, and an encore never guaranteed, yet the song, stubborn and shining, keeps playing. Remember, a vinyl groove never lies but never reveals every secret. Those belong to the kin who bled for music. And now, one last encore. A coda carved from memories the charts forgot. Picture a weather-beaten front porch on a July night. A cheap transistor radio buzzing somewhere between stations. A grandmother hums a half-remembered Carter family chorus while her grandson, fingers still sticky from watermelon, taps a rusted coffee can like a snare drum. In that unremarkable moment, the entire history of country music flickers. Heartache, hustle, miracles, mistakes. The porch boards creak in time, lightning bugs float like tiny spotlights. An old hound sighs as if he's heard every hit before it was born. Nobody in that family will ever top the Billboard Hot 100, but decades from now, a great-granddaughter might stumble across a forgotten demo file, add a lo-fi beat, and upload it under an alias. She'll go viral overnight, strangers praising her fresh authenticity, unaware the melody traces back to that watermelon night. Every living room, barn, and minivan carries similar seeds. When someone chooses courage over silence, a new verse begins. So if you've ever scribbled lyrics in a math notebook or practiced harmonies while folding laundry or argued with a sibling about who really hit that high note, congratulations. You are already part of this wild, complicated lineage. Pass the stories on, record the arguments, tune the cheap guitar even when the frets buzz. Because somewhere down the line, an audience you'll never meet will be grateful you added your small, defiant stanza to country music's never-ending song. I want you to imagine the grand ole Opry after everyone leaves, when the janitor's floor polisher drones like distant cicadas and the pews hold only abandoned programs, each still vibrating faintly with applause that has nowhere else to go but inward into the wood and seat springs beneath them. That lingering hum is history's metronome, keeping perfect time while managers haggle, tour buses overheat, and siblings swear they'll never sing together again, only to find themselves mouthing the old chorus in separate hotel rooms, unable to sleep because silence lands heavier than the worst review ever printed about them. Out on the loading dock, discarded set lists flutter beside coffee cups, and a rookie guitarist pockets one like scripture, promising he'll show his brother back in Oklahoma that great things bloom even from litter, proof that inspiration is sometimes just recycled paper soaked with last night's spotlight heat and hope. In a forgotten dressing room, lipstick scribbles on the mirror spell cryptic initials, and no one knows whether they mark a romance, a feud, or simply a joke. Yet interns photograph the glass because future documentaries thrive on uncertain artifacts, the maybe might have been moments that fuel endless comment sections for years. Meanwhile, a security guard hums an old Louvin Brothers tune, unaware that a podcast producer hiding near the exit is recording ambient audio, planning to loop the snippet beneath a monologue about loss, thereby granting the guard an accidental cameo in the next viral exploration of sibling sorrow online soon. Outside, Lower Broadway neon finally blinks off, yet upstairs a songwriter sharpens a pencil, convinced the perfect bridge will appear before sunrise, and somewhere two estranged sisters text simultaneously, deleting drafts until one dares a simple thumbs-up emoji that feels, in that fragile second, like salvation for them and country. So remember this hollow midnight echo, because tomorrow's chart topper may have been born inside these empty seats, and the next great reconciliation might already be vibrating in dust motes above the stage, waiting for daylight, breakfast radio, and a fresh set of siblings ready to chase the impossible once more. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.